Okay, and now we are back, coming into the fourth aspects of quality that is covered in contract. This will be talking about testing and commissioning, testing, commissioning, and inspection. And I think these provisions are very typically found under clauses in Malaysian contract. They will be applicable to material testing. There will be testing on systems. There will be testing on installations, testing on workmanship, inspection on workmanship, what is done, what work is done and all that. So, like I said, usually contractor will submit all these ITP, work method statement, or PQP, or, this is quite typical. They will submit that for approval. And then this document will basically identify the procedures and the acceptance criteria, frequency, and responsibilities. So then that will actually help the supervisor side to actually help to, the contractor themselves and also the supervisor side to follow this plan accordingly, that is statements and plan accordingly. And I don't want to go into like too many things about, why you must do it. I think it's very typical, this is not what we're covering here. So, I think all the clauses will actually include that, if it's necessary for the compliance to the project, certain materials must be either tested, or inspect or tested. So, or certain work or installations or something, like that. There will be certain things, like could be material, it could be machineries, it could be work, the work itself that requires some form of testing and inspection. Testing is more like picking out the material or the items for specific testing, such as laboratory or sampling, on-site sampling, or visual verification, and all. Then the most typical one are third-party laboratory, third-party assessments. Okay, on certain system, on certain materials. These are quite common. Say they will list down, or the SO. It gives SO the right actually to call for testing. Of course, you can't call for testing of every single thing. So normally, like I said, under the material category or certain machineries category or certain systems, they would just ask them for, say, according to certain standards or according to certain requirements. It could be project requirement, it could be specification, it could be certain standards. And that when they come, it's based on inspection. Yeah, which means to inspect whether there is the things that is being brought, or the things that are being brought into the site or installed are actually according to their standards. Or then, of course, if they want to certain materials, there will be certain specific materials that they will actually ask for testing, or certain particular systems that they will ask for testing first. For example, maybe bar from China, pillar hydrant from certain countries, not exactly made in Malaysia, for example. The things that are not made in Malaysia, sometimes it's mechanical, M&E parts, that they actually have to import from overseas. And they want to make sure that it's up to certain standards or up to local standards, then they'll call for testing. Like I said, testing and inspection, it is very, it is something that can be called for. Okay, like I said, it's in the contract. It's usually in the contract somewhere that talks about testing and commissioning. It will be, especially inspection is very common because it's talking about up to standard, and what way to be up to standard, that is by inspection. Okay, then, of course, like I said, you can call for SO or supervisor can call for testing. Okay, and then the third aspect is this testing and commissioning are usually associated with the completion of work, especially commissioning. So when it comes to commissioning, that one will actually be reviewed accordingly for the issuance of CPC, so which is a very serious thing. So testing, inspection, commissioning are not just necessities, not technically necessities, contractually. It is there, it is in the contract for for contractor to meet, if calls for. Okay, so then the fifth aspect is standing supervision and supervision. I think this one, I think we all have issues with this. So when you have SO, supervision must be done on site. So it's contractor must have representative. SO will be the one designated to be looking after the job on behalf of the client. So then the heartbeat is always, I think we've mentioned this before, to be fair at the same time as to be faithful to the client. So you cannot be like whole time balance it, whole time deciding the client when things are unreasonable. There is also the professional integrity to actually make sure that your judgment is fair in that sense. So the supervisory role is difficult. It is a difficult role because we tend to sometimes forget one role, or we find it very difficult to balance between being a client's agent, and I mean this is about SO contractor's supervisor. Basically, they are employed under the contractor's team, so they basically look after the contractor's interest in that sense But of course, if you're an engineer who are working for the contractor, you also need to ensure that work is done with integrity in that sense not because of your paymaster is the contractor, and you can close all the eyes to it, you see. So that one is quite that delicate responsibility. So supervision, like I say, the presence of a full supervisor, and then the client side will call for supervision team. Although I know that many consultants now, the client don't want them to supervise, and that could be, that could be an issue as well. So that means that there is no proper SO on some of the project. That could, be, there is some contractual implication there, in that sense. So, so the client must ensure that supervision is provided. Supervision is a very big part about quality. But if we don't have supervision, if there's no proper contractors representative, there's no proper SO or skilled SO, the SO representative could be not necessarily the engineer themselves, but the cloud works, the technical supervisory teams must be competent now. I think contractually, the word supervision is always there, okay? But unfortunately, in practice now, sometimes client, because of cost reason, they want to delete that supervision part, and leave it to their own people to do the supervision, and their own people could be like 3 or 4 sites at the same time. So it's very difficult to carry out, quality supervision work in that sense. But what I'm trying to point out here is all contract has clauses on supervision. And that supervision is actually important to ensure that work is done accordingly. Okay, and how many times you do the supervision, how many times you do the inspection, how many times you carry out the testing, these are all under supervision, or how many times you should keep the record, how often should you visit that particular work, when do you have to visit the work, when do you have to check, these are all, the category of supervision is encompassing. So it's actually encompassing a lot of things, you see. So a lot of things under quality is basically supervision in that sense. And there's another aspect of supervision, is called standing supervision, whereby we are denoting that we need their presence, the supervisors and their representative presence during the execution work, waterproofing, piling work. So these are typical work that the representative must be, SO representative must be there to witness the whole process, and the contractor is obligated to give adequate notice. Sometimes it's 3 days, but I think 3 days is a bit unreasonable. But as long as it's within 24 hours, or not less than 24 hours, you cannot say that, now this evening you want to pour, and then at 3 o'clock you message the SO to ask him to come. That is not fair, So failure to give notice could actually cause the supervisors not to be present, and they could, if they have reasonable doubt, they could call for opening up, or they can give instruction for the work to be opened up at the contractor's own cost. This is like if they never call you to come, but if they call and you don't come, and it's very valid,